Hello, hello, hello. Okay, this is working. Okay. Have you ever wanted to create something? Whether it be music, drawing, a game, or even a novel. Have you ever been afraid to get your ideas out? Anxious as you scramble to figure out how to get your idea across, how to get your point across? What if they don't see my art for what it is? What if they don't see my art the way I see it? What if I fail to accurately present my vision? Somewhere out there, it's a 5 out of 10 game with a vision. A vision so profound yet misunderstood. A gem, a bright gem, but an unpolished one. Now I know what you're thinking. There's no way this is your favorite game of all time. But then I would follow up with, have you even played it? Yes, I understand. Every Daft Peanut era commentary review tuber talked about this game, from Manga Common to YIIK Salad Bar. But, like, do you even know what the game is about? Like, okay, maybe Running Shine's review is mostly fair from the gameplay aspect, but we seriously can't keep calling this the worst RPG ever made. I mean, most of these reviews even fail to capture what made YIIK such an awkward game in the first place, and instead opted for the so bad it's good approach. Plus, there were people insisting Alex Eggleston was a bad character, painfully unlikable protagonist that failed to justify his role as the main character, which to me comes off as, I didn't really get it. Some of these reviews even get the game's story wrong when explaining. Most people who hated on the game don't even know what it's about. Y2K, a postmodern RPG. Developed by a small studio ran by two brothers, Andrew and Brian Allenson, it began development in around 2012 to 2013 after the release and unfortunate failure of their previous game, Two Brothers. To Andrew and Brian, Y2K was a project of love and passion, inspired by their own life experiences. Y2K is a game about escapism and the behaviors that harm ourselves and those around us, and how that behavior is spread within an echo chamber. The year is 1999. The last year of the millennia. You play as beloved Alex Eggleston, who has just arrived home after graduating from college. After chasing a cat into an abandoned factory where Alex witnesses what he believes to be the disappearance of a young woman named Semi Pak. From here on, Alex becomes obsessed with chasing after and finding her, utilizing a web forum known as Onism 1999 to track down supernatural occurrences in hopes of being led to Sammy. It's a surrealist postmodernist story that blends together fiction and reality, a world where everything is a metaphor for a metaphor. Y2K forces you to engage with and pick apart the narrative. You can play the entire game and not understand a single thing that happens, and that might be one of the problems?
Hey! Give them back to me!
Y2K had a very dynamic development process. Each major milestone was actually playable at some point in the form of demos. The game changed so much over time, but each demo left intrigue and hype in its path with every release. In fact, most people who were looking forward to Y2K prior to its release in 2019 think fondly of their prototype, which many critics say held everything they liked about the concept, as well as the 0.25.2 pre-alpha build for its, what people believe, to be a superior aesthetic to what we ended up getting. I don't think I have to be the one to tell you, but people did not fucking like this game. This game was target to a lot of different hate campaigns for various reasons, and before I can talk about what makes this game so great, I need to talk about So, Y2K was not generally received well, at least not in America. It actually kind of became a cult classic in Japan, but for the rest of the world, not so much.
Yeah, what happened after it came out? It's great. It's great.
So. The game comes out January 17th.
Uh-huh.
I wake up the January 16th. I'm taking a flight to San Antonio to show the game at PAX South, which is a pretty big game convention. I'm feeling good. I saw early reviews. People seem to like the game. So I wake up. The embargo goes up like 2 hours before my flight. I see a 9.0 from IGN Greece. Fantastic score.
Oh,
I
wow.
see an 8.5 from Nintendo Life. I'm seeing like all these great scores from Europe and South America. I get on my flight. I get to the connecting flight in like I was like Connecticut or something, and I check my phone, and the American
arrested for hate
reviews
speech
have come up.
Yeah.
What's that?
And you were arrested for hate speech on your connecting flight.
Almost immediately, because in the game, we made the mistake of asking the player, what name did your parents give you? And it turns out that is a very offensive question.
Okay.
Because some people are trans and they don't use the name their parents gave them. So immediately the game is targeted
like the
as being
Untouchables.
transphobic.
Because you ask what name, like a cute way to ask somebody their names, because which I do hate how video games work in, like the first person you encounter will go like, oh yeah, I'm so hungover that I forgot your name. And then you'll get a box to put in your
And like, look, I'm sympathetic to trans people. I understand why it upset them. But the problem was when we apologized, that wasn't good enough.
From here on, Andrew's name and the branding of Y2K would pretty much be permanently tarnished as collaborators such as Toby Fox completely removed all advertising of the game, despite following it for nearly its entire development cycle.
So basically, people started attacking the game. Game developers who I've known for a very long time, and I've been doing game development since 2011. And they start disavowing the game. They start distancing themselves from it.
Yeah.
People who tweet about the game and even contributed to it start deleting their tweets. And I'm like, guys, you all played the game. You know this isn't true.
Y2K was essentially the millennial transphobe game, which is very strange to me considering Y2K in itself is low-key kind of hashtag woke, but I digress.
It's not that easy. Those people you see on TV are people who can make a great story for the press. That's just the way it works.
I don't think I ever gave it any thought.
Yeah, man. That's just how they get away with it. People like you don't think about it. And people like us, it's all we ever get to think about. Where our kid brothers went.
Now, I can't talk about Y2K and its controversies without talking about the big elephant in the room. Now, I am approaching this topic cautiously, and I want to preface this by saying, rest in peace Elisa Lam. What happened to her was nothing short of a tragedy, but why bring up Lam in the first place? Well, Elisa Lam was the prime motivator behind the writing of Y2K, a postmodern RPG. Though, the game is less inspired by Elisa Lam and more inspired by the internet's reaction to Lam. Y2K serves as a sort of social commentary for internet behaviors regarding certain tragedies, and even how the internet treats the real world. Yet, critics went into Y2K as this being its biggest criticism, and even as an excuse to send threats to Andrew and Brian. Many considered the inclusion of Lam to be in poor taste, especially with the internet forum posts in-game regarding the game's missing woman. More so, people found it extremely uncomfortable at how the users of the in-game web forum developed such a creepy parasocial relationship with the game's missing woman, who parallels the real-life person. Now, this is a very touchy topic to speak on, but I'm going to start off by saying this. There is absolutely nothing wrong with being inspired by real-life events and tragedies, and I do not think YIIK was wrong for using the missing woman plot point. The point of Y2K is to criticize those who get stuck within these online echo chambers and the parasocial nature of the forum denizens. The point of Y2K is to criticize those who get stuck within these online echo chambers, and the parasocial nature of the forum denizens are what sells the idea. While I do criticize the decision to make the scene based off of the real-life footage of her disappearance, it was not an attempt to be edgy or distasteful. Do I think it's clumsy and distasteful? Absolutely, but I do not think that should discredit the story the game is trying to tell regarding the topic. Besides, where was this energy with American Horror Stories' hotel season? The one also inspired by Alyssa Lamb? Or how about when Petscop used a Newmaker tragedy as a plot point? Does that discount the stories those pieces of fiction are telling? I don't think it does.
Impossible. Again, it's a fascinating case, but I don't know, it's kind of distasteful to put her in the game because she was like a real person. It's kind of weird to put her in the game, especially as a love interest for this main character who looks like Louis C.K. She should have started to feel like Jeff Mangum, really. I don't have anything wrong with romance, but come on, I only knew this chick for like an hour.
The thing was, I was very obsessed with the death and sort of strange stuff surrounding Alyssa Lamb. I thought it was tragic how people were spinning the story that here's this woman who vanished, and they only talked about the story because people drank water that her dead body was in. What if I made a game where the main cast was obsessed with a similar story and explore the types of people who sort of put off growing up and getting real jobs, and all they do is play internet detective all day?
Maybe you solved the mystery.
Yeah, that sounds interesting.
This topic is tied pretty closely to another of the game's biggest criticisms, a character heavily criticized for being insufferable, especially considering his parasocial and obsessive relationship towards the game's missing woman. Many critics saw this as creepy on Andrew's end, especially with his self-insert allegations. Who am I talking about?
You scanned the dark floor and found nothing. You sighed as the elevator began to shake, vibrating with motion.
Okay, so let's get the first part out of the way. The self-insert allegations. I swear, this is like CIA-level engineered propaganda. People actually took this bait, and it honestly did a surprising amount of harm to Andrew's reputation, especially when paired with the Alyssa Lamb controversy. If Alex is truly a self-insert, then obviously his obsession with Sammy Pack would probably be extremely creepy. Except this literally isn't even true. Alex is supposed to encapsulate the social commentary Ack was setting up with the game's story. Is Alex creepy? Yes, but this absolutely does not reflect Andrew or even Brian Allenson. Dude, seriously, look at this shit. This is actually hilarious. The propaganda genuinely hinges on this random photo of a bearded ginger man and his cat. I don't even know who this is, and he also looks nothing like either of the Allenson brothers. This shit is genuinely frying me. Okay, though, let's actually talk about Alex Eggleston. The Allensons' second-born child, right after Roy II brothers. And Alex is Ack's problem child, probably the game's second main point of scrutiny. As you can probably imagine with the self-insert allegations, which, by the way, were extremely damaging to Ack's reputation. So, what's the deal with Alex? It's simple. He's unlikable. He talks too much. We'll get to that later. It is generally just insufferable to the point of having not one, not two, but 3 iconic voice lines that speak on just how awful Alex can be. While critics and general audiences alike were going off about how awful Alex is, Andrew would go on to say something that the internet would misconstrue and misinterpret to this day.
My mistake was thinking that video games are art. I wanted to make a game about a guy who's like a piece of shit, unlikable character who by the end of the game has to transform.
Yeah.
But too many gamers, they're so used to having to identify with the character that if they play a game where the main character is unlikable or has to do some bad stuff, they immediately get triggered by it.
The general reaction was one of two things. Andrew Allenson doesn't think video games are art? And Andrew Allenson can't handle criticism. If you fall into either of these categories, then I am so sorry. Your literacy may actually be non-existent. The point of Andrew's rant was to say that his art banks on you accepting that Alex kind of sucks. But the point of the narrative is that the protagonist is unlikable. Andrew may be a bit off when he says that people aren't used to playing as a protagonist they can't project onto. But I think his crash out is absolutely valid, and that criticizing the game for having an unlikable protagonist is not fair and is intellectually bankrupt. The worst part is people didn't even engage with the game enough to understand why it's necessary for Alex to be unlikable for the narrative. YIIK Salad Bar even makes a video comparing Alex and the protagonist of Lisa, Brad, where he claims Brad is the right way to write an unlikable protagonist, and Alex YIIK Man is the wrong way. I find this video funny because he fundamentally gets wrong not just Alex, but also Brad. the character he's shilling in the video, he doesn't even know why Alex is badly written or why Brad is well written, and I find that really funny. People often refer to Alex as shallow, but that's a bit disingenuous in my opinion. Even paying attention to the game, you can discover the many ways the world of YIIK ties into Alex's issues and what makes him the way he is. His relationship with his mother, his relationship with his father, his relationship with even his friends, and more importantly, the women in his life, all factor into the greater picture of what makes Alex Alex. And that's not even getting into what this all means. The fact that I can discuss so much about Alex proves enough that he is by no means shallow. Adrian wasn't saying that video games weren't art, nor was he throwing a tantrum because people didn't like his game. His issue lied with people criticizing him in the game without actually understanding anything about the game or the writing decisions. The reception towards Alex is a big indicator of this. Simply put, y'all didn't see the vision. And while we're here, let's talk about...
The calm night wind of springtime seemed to contrast the inner workings of my brain. I was moving on autopilot back towards my home. I felt as if I'd seen...
Y2K story is told almost entirely from the perspective of Alex, as he tries to make sense of what the hell is going on. A lot of people really hate this. A lot of people suggested the game kept telling rather than showing, or that Alex's narration dragged on for too long during scenes they'd rather have shown to them instead of told by our unlikable narrator. The thing about Alex's narration is that it's half of the point of the game. When things happen in the game, they're interpreted to us by Alex. We experience the story the way Alex wants us to see the story. Criticizing the game for show don't tell is silly when the point is that telling instead of showing warps our perception of the events that happen in the game. While I think Alex's original monologues may have been entirely too long, they are a necessary component of the game. Especially once the story starts to keep track of multiple narrators, you can't be entirely sure what's happening in the game's story, despite it being told to you.
So, what happens when people die?
Where do I start here with Rory? So, slight spoilers ahead. Depending on your actions in the game, Rory can, die. Try not to get my video hidden as I am already a small channel, but, Rory's possible death isn't an accident, let's just say. This really marks down the height of how awful Alex is, but the real reason this is criticized so hard is that people don't think it was handled well. Once Alex gets the news, he goes on a long monologue about how bad of a friend he was, and then you're able to read what may perhaps be the worst note of all time. If we're being honest, a lot of people didn't really like this scene due to the long Alex monologue that takes place afterwards. People felt they didn't really get to take in the moment, but again, that kind of misses the point of the narration to begin with. This is one of the only real points in the game where Alex ever does any self-reflection, and I think that's actually good. There's also the instance of the note left on Onism, which is written entirely in leet speech, and I'm not sure why it's such a big deal. Is it the leet speech? Are we not allowed to write characters who are a bit unconventional in how they handle their own mental health? There's also more to that note, but I can't get to that until the IV segment, but really I don't know why the note was such a big talking point when it came to criticism of how Rory is handled. Some went as far to call the writer homophobic? Like, are we not allowed to write queer characters who struggle with their mental health? Like, I don't get it. Stupid drama. Moving on.
Hello, Alex. My favorite soul. I must thank you for coming to retrieve me.
What's happening?
Talking about Y2K's story is complicated. While I think it's good, there are many different factors for many different people on what makes a story good to begin with. If a story isn't straightforward and doesn't make sense immediately, then a lot of people are turned off from it.
That people do not view things the same way we do.
Postmodernism is a pretty hard sell for most people. People want entertainment, not puzzles. Y2K, unfortunately, is about as puzzling as it gets when it comes to narratives. Imagine that feeling when you watched Neon Genesis Evangelion for the first time, and you got to the final 2 episodes, and you had to figure out what it meant and tie it back to the narrative. Now, imagine an entire game that's exactly like that. What? You didn't watch Evangelion? A big issue people had with Y2K was secretly I didn't get it. And don't you fucking lie to me and say, I did get it, I just didn't like it. You did not get it, and I know you didn't get it because I barely get it, and I've practically studied this game for 3 years. And to this day, I'm still discovering new interpretations. I know y'all didn't get it because there's an entire ending that exists covered in the game, and finding it apparently relies on the narrative understanding. And that ending still hasn't been found yet, even by diehard Y2K fans. So I don't want to hear shit about, I understood, I just didn't like it. Because that's the same excuse people use for not liking Fight Club. Now, there is one criticism that I think is fair, and it's, I didn't get it, and I don't want to get it, because understanding it requires me to play it some more, and listen to the dialogue again. Honestly, that's fair. If there's anything Y2K struggled with, it was presentation. Y2K struggled actually conveying its ideas in a manner that was understandable. Even fans of postmodernism media thought something was off about Y2K. Y2K is a tryhard at postmodernist writing, but the presentation severely limited how it could present its ideas. The game severely lacked a way to convey integral imagery, opting for visual novel-like cutscenes and placeholder assets. It was genuinely no wonder people had a hard time with this game, even if they enjoyed its aesthetic. A mess of good but poorly presented ideas. The presentation of the ending especially hurts the game's narrative as it comes off as pure nonsense from almost every angle, to then just abruptly end. There's also the case of the Chapter 2 Golden Alpaca boss fight, but I think I'll save my piece on that one. Oh, speaking of poor presentation in boss fights. This is the worst, most slowest RPG I've ever played in my life. Oh my god. As a video game meant to be played, this is a weird one. So, Y2K is a turn-based RPG, where your skill at various different minigames determines the outcome of your battles. Not in the Undertale way, but imagine Paper Mario and then suddenly on your turn, a WarioWare-esque minigame pops up, and if you fail, you lose all of your HP and fucking die. That was Y2K. One of the many different criticisms this game suffered was about its unique battle system. It lacked minigame variety, and unless you were just really good at the game, many fights lasted up to 20 minutes due to how low the damage can be, and how much understanding of the battle system it took to hit high damage numbers. Not only was the game's story not for everyone, the game's battle mode definitely wasn't for everyone. While I enjoy Y2K's old battle mode, I will say that most of the criticism regarding it was fair. And don't even get me started on the level up system, the Mine Dungeon. Within the Mine Dungeon, you walk up to these doors to allocate your skill points. Except for the part where you have to do this every single time you want to level up. Each level up contains a minimum of 8 button presses for one level. So, it could get pretty crazy, especially if you start hoarding XP, or if you're, like, playing the game and you don't realize how much XP you have. So you go and you're like, damn, I have 6 levels. You're gonna be there a while. You're gonna be there for quite some time. Let's it's kind of crazy. The game felt spongy and slow, and having random encounters at first did not aid in that sentiment. Most people probably spent around 45 minutes fighting the Golden Alpaca in Chapter 2. Imagine 45 minutes of an alpaca yelling lemonade at you. Oh, and don't even get me started on this fucking fight right here. Oh my. That being said, I do not think the concept of old battle mode was bad. Far from it. Just that, much like the story and its presentation, lacked polish. It lacked polish, it lacked sauce. While I do not think the decision to throw it away entirely was a bad one, I think polishing it into something better, or finding it into something more fun, would have been much more worth it. So, you heard it here. Y2K, a Postmodern RPG, is my favorite game of all time. But, like, why was the last, how long was that? 10 minutes or so so negative? Well, like I said at the beginning, Y2K was an awkward game. But many critics failed to talk about what made the game so awkward, and instead opted into nitpicks and slander. And those who didn't failed to even attempt to understand what the game was trying to do, or just badly conveyed what made Y2K such an awkward experience. Then, just 2 years later, Y2K 1.5, marketed as Y2K I.V, the definitive Y2K experience, would be announced. An update that seemed to intend to address criticisms about the original release of the game. An update that would be set to release in 2023, delayed until December 2024. Will it save Y2K, or will it just be somehow worse, like everyone seemed to think it would? Well, let's talk about it.
April 4th, 1999. I arrived home from school. I had no idea what adult life held for me, but I was optimistic.
The world has used me so unkindly, I fear it's made me suspicious of everyone.
Hi, I'm Rory. I'm a scene kid with a dead sister.
I always bid on the same thing.
No one cares about your sister right now. We almost just died ourselves.
While I am with you, nothing bad can ever happen.
Do not twist the good memories with the bad memories.
Monism shows you that other people are just as disturbed as you are.
Can't you see her too? That's my sister. That's Carrie.
This guy has ruined my life in every reality.
Monism has gone septic. Alex, how am I supposed to know what to do?
I don't know. Stop pretending.
Alex,
Come back. Wait for me.
do not unfollow us. We will be whole again.
Don't deserve forgiveness. No one really does. It's a gift. For you and me.
Okay, so I want to start off by saying a lot of people thought Y2K IV would rewrite the game. That it would be a revision, a rewrite, something like that. Like a totally different game. Y2K I.V was not that. In fact, I have a lot of respect for ACK for this, but they doubled down on what made Y2K so strange, so weird, while presenting it to the best of their vision. So if you didn't like the original Y2K for how strange and wacky it was, then you're not gonna like IV. But for the story it was trying to tell, it succeeded in getting its ideas across. It doubled down on what made it unique in the first place, while presenting it in the best way it possibly could. So YIIK 1.5 is an overhaul of the original game. New animations, new characters, new story beats. The game truly serves as a definitive Y2K experience. Let's talk about why. Just like the previous part, I will try not to spoil too much. First off, this title screen, oh, it kicks so good. I actually prefer the Nameless Psychosis demos title screen a bit more. This is still really cool. This is like technically cooler. I just like the vibe of the other one, but this is like really cool. Oh, like I remember first seeing this and I was like geeked, dude. Like, alright, whatever. If you weren't sure how crazy this game's glow up would be, then this should be an indicator that you're probably about to play something absolutely insane.
What are you making today? Making some soup for dinner?
Okay, so first off, this segment is going to be quick and to the point. The Sammy Pack abduction sequence has changed in imagery. First of all, It's a fully animated cutscene, but also it's a lot less reminiscent of Alyssa Lamb. Unfortunately, the Anaza post featuring her disappearance still uses the angle reminiscent of the real-life footage. However, I think the revision to the actual cutscene does a good job at establishing Semi as a standalone character outside of her real-life inspiration. Okay, so it'd be foolish to just talk about Alex, so let's talk about the entire cast. YIIK I.V not only revises characters and their roles in the story, but also adds new ones and even expands upon the already existing ones in a way that makes them more established in the game's narrative. Alex and Rory are more intrinsically tied together metaphorically when it comes to the game's themes, to the point of being the focal point of the brand new character, Nameless, who represents the siblings of both Alex and Rory. Characters like Michael go from comic relief regular white guy to the main aura farmer of the game. Seriously, can we nerf this guy's aura? Previously underutilized characters such as Chandra and Claudio get entirely new original scenes dedicated to just them. Circling back around to Alex though, did they make him less unlikable? Well, not quite. But Alex's tendencies are framed a bit differently than in the original version of the game. He goes from complete unlikable asshole to just one guy in the cog of one wheel in an endless echo chamber. It's not that Alex is just a liar, he also genuinely believes the stuff that he says. It's made very clear in IV that it's not just the people around him that are victims of his behavior, but Alex too is a victim of himself and his own mind.
The MC, the master of ceremonies. Or is it the main character?
One of the cool changes regarding the narration segments is the change in presentation. While the monologues follows the reduced monologue script introduced in an update prior to 1.5, don't ask me which one, it's not really that important, I don't care enough to look. The narration definitely has more flair and more to look at. A lot of people said that the narration made Alex feel like an annoying Saturday night stand-up comedian, and it's funny how ACT doubled down on it and enhanced the vibe by making it to where that's exactly how he's being presented. I like it, it's funny. Was Rory's incident made any better or worse, according to criticism? Well, honestly, it didn't change, at all, but the circumstances behind it are made more clear in the 1.5 exclusive content. Rory is given a much bigger role, and we're able to identify with him and his struggles a lot better than in the original game, and I appreciate that. Rory was always a fascinating character in my opinion, and to see him get the love he deserves in 1.5 is really cool to me. And I said I'd mention the note in this side of the video, but that's actually spoilers. Sorry, play the game or something, I don't know.
Hello, Alex, my favorite soul. I must thank you for coming to retrieve me.
YIIK I.V does more than just add some new characters and some new scenes. It also expands upon what was already in the game. The new scenes are just to complement what was already there, not to rewrite or replace. So, like I said, Y2K struggled with presentation. It lacked the sauce required to convey its ideas. YIIK 1.5 does more than just fix this. It adds entirely new gameplay sections to expand on the game's more abstract concepts like the soul space. There's even a cool new addition to the game's narrative that also ties in the game's gameplay, called Karta, which serves to explore Y2K's portrayal of Jungian memetics in the form of original sinners and original winners. The game not only succeeds in presenting and preserving its original ideas, but also adding more to discuss without giving us all the answers. Even with I.V, I am speculating on much of the original game. Nigga, who are you? Circling back around to Alex Eggleston, as I said before, his story's framing is a bit different than in the original game, and while I can't completely explain why without spoilers, Andrew once said this on Discord. Andrew didn't revise certain aspects of the story to adhere to critics, but to put the spotlight on those who truly identified with the game's themes. Maybe one day I'll do an analysis of Y2K I.V, but that's pretty much all I'll say on the matter for right now. But, we do need to talk about, So when making 1.5, X sort of just threw out like everything when it comes to the original battle mode. Yes, that's right. No more WarioWare. This is truly the worst thing to ever happen to YIIK kind. How will we ever recover? The silver spoon is crazy! So, ACK completely scrapped the original battle mode in favor of a brand new one, dubbed the Dart Game. The Dart Game perfectly captures the weirdness and surrealism of Y2K. One complaint I do have is that the original battle mode just wasn't weird enough visually, and the Dart Game completely blows it out of the water on that front. So, what is the Dart Game anyway? Well, in simple terms, they turned Y2K into a weird turn-based RPG deck builder hybrid. Instead of a series of minigames, you set up cards for your party. These cards play a strategic role in protecting your health bars and holding powerful spells. Choosing whether to use a card or keep it protecting you comes with the strategy. On top of having these cards, each party member has their own sets of skills they can use, which typically range between single target damage multiplier, multi-target damage multiplier, and then status effect. Maybe an occasional heal in there too. Characters like Rory containing strong support skills that can genuinely break the game if you use them correctly. Now, I will say, as cool as the Dart Game is, I don't think it was necessary to throw out the entire battle system. Like I said before, old battle mode was a good idea that lacked polish. While I am glad you're able to revert back to the old battle mode on New Game Plus, it is a shame nothing further was ever done to expand upon OBM. Though it is cool that they took their time to also make OBM versions of the IV exclusive boss fights, they didn't have to do that, but they did. I really like the surrealism of like the Dart Game. Like if you just like made them more like surrealish for OBM, that'd be really cool, right? That'd be awesome, right? Like, am I alone in that? Am I is that crazy to say? Y2K, a postmodern RPG, is my favorite video game of all time. It may perhaps be my favorite piece of media of all time. I don't know. It depends on the day, but to me, Y2K is an inspiration. From one of the most hated indie games ever to cult classic among niche spaces, Y2K has set out to be what it was always meant to be: art. Does Y2K still catch flack to this day? Absolutely. But it's also climbed its way up and became a hidden gem with its own dedicated fan base that appreciates it for its wacky, puzzling, surrealist nature. There's nothing out there that's quite like Y2K, and ACK really put their entire soul into this game. What did they get for it? Controversy and slander. And instead of taking it laying down and giving up and moving on to greener pastures, they stuck with it and turned their awkward little game into the game it was always meant to be, into their definitive vision. I love Y2K. I liked it before 1.5, and I liked it even more now. Thank you, Andrew and Brian Allenton. To anyone who is curious, I suggest you at least trying it out and give it a try. A lot changes in 7 years. My name is D4T. Thank you for watching.